quiet quitting. We've all heard the term, and I've seen lots of conversations about what does it really mean, and I started wondering, how does it affect people's careers? Now let's talk about what is quiet quitting first. Is it setting healthy boundaries, or is it doing subpar work? That's what we need to understand before we can tell if it's going to hurt your career. Hi, it's Carol Doherty. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about quiet quitting. It's something that people have been talking about a lot lately. I'm seeing it come up more and more. And recently I saw an article where they were talking about quiet quitting is really just setting boundaries. And setting boundaries is something I firmly believe in. In fact, my last video was about setting boundaries. So let's talk about this. Which is it? Is it setting boundaries or is it doing subpar work? I think it depends on what you're doing. And the impact to your career is going to be dependent on which way you're going with it. So let's explore this a little bit. Setting boundaries. Setting boundaries is a lot about saying, I'm not going to work 80-hour weeks forever and ever, or 60 or 70 or even 50-hour weeks. I know during the pandemic, a lot of companies cut back on staff, and the remaining staff had to pick up a lot of slack. I'm seeing a lot of women in STEM still working extra hours because they're still short-staffed in their organization. So, do you really need to keep working 50, 60 hours a week as a norm? No, we shouldn't be expecting that of ourselves and of others. And particularly if you're a woman in STEM, it's easy to find yourself caught up in this people-pleasing mode where somebody says, oh, hey, can you work a little bit extra? Can you stay and help out with this? And it's easy to find yourself saying, oh, well, yeah, sure, I can do that. That may not be healthy for you. I typically, throughout my engineering career and even in supervision, worked probably 45 hours a week on average. And that worked for me. It was easy to do, even with the kids being little. My husband and I could do it. He went in later than I did, so I went in earlier, left a little earlier, and he went in later and got home a little bit later. But we were still able to get home, do dinner with the kids, and that sort of thing. So that was something that we were able to make work. And I worked hard not to do much more than 45 hours a week unless it was a special project that required extra time. And usually I knew what those were, when they were, and we could schedule them. So, maybe you have to do some extra hours occasionally, but it shouldn't be the norm. So figure out what works for you and your family and your job. And if your job is such that you're required to work 50 hours a week, week after week after week, year after year, there's a problem and your organization may be short-staffed. And that's something you should be bringing up to your manager. So setting healthy boundaries is about setting the hours that you want to work to get your job done. It is imperative that you do the job you're given to do. Not doing the full job isn't helping you. Okay, so do your job, but it doesn't mean you have to be on call 24/7. It doesn't, unless that is a job requirement. And usually when that comes up, it's for a short period of time and there's compensation associated with it, and extra time off or something else. Because I know people who are in tech, I see this a lot with IT people, or they're on call for the weekend, or this week they're on call, so if a problem comes up, they're the ones answering the phone, supporting a global organization. Those are short runs. And usually then there's some extra time off or there's extra pay because of that extra time. And it's not something that only one person is doing, it's rotating through. That's okay, you can manage that, right? But if you're expected to be on call all the time and answering emails till late at night and working every weekend, I've been in jobs like that. And I drew lines. I said no. So I set boundaries around what I wanted to do for what worked for me. And I still got the job done. And I still got promoted. So healthy boundaries are important. For more on that, check out my last YouTube video. The other side of quiet quitting. I'm seeing people call it quiet quitting when really they're just kind of quitting. They're not quiet, they're just not doing their job. They have disengaged from their work. They're doing maybe the bare minimum. Quite likely, they're not even doing the minimum. You have a deadline of something due on Friday, and on Thursday, you're barely started. And Friday, when the deadline comes, you're not even halfway there. That's not quite quitting. That's giving up. That's not performing your job. And yes, that will hurt your career. People can end up in that mode because they've burned out and they just can't take anymore. So they're just scraping by, and more often than they're not, they're surfing the web or scrolling through their phone on work time, and they're not producing any work. That's not what you're paid to do. And I'll be honest, I've had a couple instances in my career where I kind of got myself in that mode because I was burned out. I was in a toxic situation and I hated where I was. And I didn't know how to get out. And I needed to get out because what I was doing wasn't healthy for me and it wasn't healthy for the organization. So something has to change. So if you're finding yourself burned out and just kind of shutting down and really not doing your job, that's a sign that you need to make a change. It may be taking a vacation. It may be pushing back on those hours, setting healthy boundaries. And it may also mean you need to get some help. Maybe you need to take some time off for mental health. Get mental health help. You're depressed. You've got high anxiety. Your health is impacted. Take the time you need then to fix you so that you can do your job. So there's all this talk around quiet quitting. And is it healthy boundaries or is it doing subpar work? Kind of depends on your situation and what you're doing. I know that there are managers out there who think people who are pushing healthy boundaries are really just giving up and doing subpar work. If you can show that you're doing the work you need to do, getting it done in a time frame that works for you, producing excellent work and getting results, you know what? They're going to start seeing that and you're going to be given promotions and leeways and you're getting stuff done. I know this is true because I did this 15 years ago, long before people were talking about quiet quitting. It can be done. But if you're burned out and you're shut down and you're really not doing your job, that does impact your career and you need to be careful. And if you're a woman in STEM, too often we're held to higher standards. They expect more from us and we often give more because we're taught we need to help other people out. So set those healthy boundaries and take care of you first and foremost. And if you're quiet quitting because you're attempting to set boundaries that work for you and keep you healthy physically, mentally, emotionally, so that you can produce the best results, go for it. That is what we should be doing, and we need to be pushing back on organizations to make that happen. But if you're quiet quitting and you're just kind of taking up space and you're not performing your duties and you're doing subpar work, it's time for a drastic change. Get the help you need. And if your organization is so toxic you can't take it anymore, maybe time to get out. Do what works for you. If you found this helpful, please comment, like, share, and subscribe down below. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Carol S. Doherty for more strategies on how to thrive in your STEM career so that you can have the career you always dreamed of. Have a great day.